Significant news this afternoon from the R&A that for LIV Golf, there is now one place up for grabs at that Open Championship at Royal Portrush in July. It follows the news that there will be a spot at the US Open for LIV golfers as well, which came out last week from the USGA. And in a statement, the R&A mentioned the fact that if those players not already exempt in the top 5 of the 2025 individual standings following the completion of LIV Golf Dallas. That finishes on June the 29th. There will be a spot available at the Open Championship a few weeks later. And of course, a lot of the biggest names on LIV, the likes of Jon Rahm, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, they are already exempt for the Open Championship. And a lot of other players who are Open champions themselves, the likes of Phil Mickelson, Henrik Stenson, Louis Oosthuizen, they're all exempt for the Open as well. But I think this is significant for a lot of the younger players who have taken a gamble by going to LIV. The likes of Tom McKibben, for example, who joined made his debut just last week, 22 years of age. No pathways into a major championship, but now there is one for him. Adrian Meronk, who won the inaugural event in Saudi Arabia a couple of days ago, he wouldn't have had a pathway into the Open Championship other than through final qualifying as well. So significant for players like that, and for some of the older guards, some of the established players that we're used to seeing on so many Ryder Cup teams as well, the likes of Sergio Garcia, Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter. There now is a potential pathway through LIV into the Open Championship for them as well. In the past, Sergio Garcia has been very good about going to final qualifying, playing 36 holes in a day to try to make his way into the Open Championship. And now he has a pathway through LIV as well. Mark Darbin, who is the new chief executive of the R&A after taking over from Martin Slumbers after his 10 years in the role, has said, "We acknowledge that players competing in LIV Golf should also have the opportunity to secure places in the Open through its individual season standings, as well as existing pathways." Those existing pathways he refers to are, of course, as I mentioned, final qualifying. But Rob, what I think is significant about this is that it gives quite a lot of credibility to LIV as well. In the past, the criticism of LIV has been that it's essentially exhibition golf. The players aren't playing for anything other than money, and they've all been paid in advance in many cases. And you know that even if you finish dead last, you're going to walk home with hundreds of thousands of pounds. There haven't been world ranking points up for grabs. There hasn't been a pathway into the majors up for grabs, but now there is one. And I think that is hugely significant. As I said, it follows the news last week that the USGA are offering a similar place for the top 5 not already exempt into the US Open in June, and as their sort of partner, as the governing body of world golf, the R&A now following suit today.
Do you get the sense then, Jamie, that it's not just necessarily about credibility for LIV, but also the R&A in this case know that they need the biggest players in the world all playing at the Open, even if some of those are playing predominantly on the LIV Tour?
Yeah, I think that's obviously a huge part of it. And as I said, you know, a lot of those biggest names, they were going to be at Royal Portrush regardless. The likes of Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, as I mentioned, all those big names playing in LIV, they were going to be there. But for those younger players that have taken a gamble with their career, that would have had pathways to those major championships blocked off by making the decision they did, there now is a way into these major championships. And that is significant, I think. And, you know, I spoke to Martin Slumbers as he left the role after 10 years as chief executive of the R&A just before Christmas. And he was saying, look, as a fan of golf, I want to see the world of golf come back together again. At the end of the day, it's the fans who suffer when you don't have all the best players all in the same field at the same time. And I think this is another significant step. And Rob, it follows the news last week as well. Jay Monahan and player director Adam Scott went to visit Donald Trump, who has said that because of his relationships that he has with Saudi Arabia, he will be able to facilitate some coming back together of these two warring factions. They said they went and sought the president's help and that the president is going to be instrumental in making that happen. I still think they're a long way off, and there need to be a lot of egos left at the door and some heads bashed together. But I think we are now one step closer to seeing some form of coming back together. What that looks like, we wait to see. But the fact that these major championships, the Open Championship, the greatest tournament in world golf, is now offering a place to LIV, I think is hugely significant.